why only Hindu religious has been made a board? Why can't a Christian and Muslim?
Secondly, it is not our intention to have either Muslims or Christians controlled by the government. Not necessary. They cannot do that. Now, when we are not able to practice or propagate, what can we propagate in a temple governed by the government? And the government cannot propagate a religion.
You have one big Srirangam, you have one big Malakotai, and all big temples. But what would be the cost for the small temples?
That is because of the lack of confidence. And you take the example of Tirupati. I think Tirupati is managing several other temples because of his wealth. It wants to develop other temples also. That is how we do. Most of the government departments are failing. Only some central government departments are functioning well, some corporations. More than that, it is the private industries that are adding to the economy. The contribution previously asked was only 5%. That was struck down. Now it is 12%. And if contribution is not there, no temple can be run by the government.
What are the flaws they have made this many years? How many flaws they have made? There will be many flaws.
My view is that because it started under the British rule, nobody noticed it after the independence. In the circumstances, there is a Hindu uprising by the way the government, successive governments, I'm not about any particular government, successive governments. In fact, I filed the case even when the ADMK was in power.
Tamil Nadu, there are 50,000 temples totally with a count, and 5,000 temples which are known as the big temples. Other 45,000 where these temples are very small.
There's a commissioner, there are joint commissioners, there are assistant commissioners, there are executive officers and other staff. It is not in one place. They have offices in several districts and several places. They are managing it. Is asked for contribution. God is earning money. We pay only to God. That money is being spent by government servants, on government servants.
A warm welcome to Samanier audience, and this is a very important topic which we are going to discuss with the senior lawyer, Mr. R. Gururaj. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Before getting deep dive into the case which you have put, what are the flaws you see with the HRNC department? Why you feel that the act should be abolished?
The act should be abolished because it's against the Constitution. The Constitution gives freedom of religion, a right to administer to every religion, every citizen. Therefore, when that is the case, there cannot be an enactment under which the temples are taken over and run by the government. Government is a secular government. A secular government means it should not lean towards any religion. Therefore, the entire act itself is bad.
Okay, but it has been run for so many years. But why the necessity has come now? That was the question. See, if this case was put in 95 or 96, or okay, but in the early 2010, where does the necessity come, sir?
The necessity comes now. It is. I just thought about how this is happening. That Hindu temples alone are being run by the government, when other religions are free. Their freedom has been assured as per the Constitution, but only Hindu temples have been taken over and are being run. Just I was thinking about it. For the past about 4 or 5 years, I have been working on it, but I didn't find time. And the Corona gave me some opportunity to go deep into the constitutional law. Normally, I'm not a lawyer practicing on the constitutional side. I'm in an official place. But then I thought great injustice was being done to the Hindu society, majority society. Therefore, I thought I could look into it. And then I worked on it. There was some research done, and thereafter I have launched into it.
Thank you, sir. Most of 90% of the Hindu peoples want this to happen. Temple should be freed from the government, and you have taken the initiation. For many people, Corona did not do well. For us, for you, it has done a very good thing. First of all, I'm happy for that, and thank you for initiating this.
It is not for me. It is for the Hindu society.
Thank you, sir. So the question comes here. Generally, when there is an act, right, there will be a clause where there would be people say this clause is not working as this clause is not okay for us. But yes, when a whole act is getting a question mark, what are the flaws they have made this many years, sir? How many flaws they have made? There will be many flaws. What are the flaws that government is making on the?
Perhaps my view is that because it started under the British rule, nobody noticed it after the independence. the act continued. It is there from the 1800s, and 1927 there was an act. Then 1951 the HRNC Act came into force. Then it was replaced by the present act in 59. So since the act was continued, perhaps nobody wanted to look into it. But as times have gone now, we find that the Hindu religion is being neglected, or rather there's an ill will towards the Hindus. When that is the case, I thought just I could find out why is it so when it's a secular state. And another problem was that when the constitution was made, the word secular was not there. The word secular was not there. This was added in 1977 when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister. So this perhaps went unnoticed. The word secular was introduced. Perhaps they did not think about one particular act. They had no occasion to do that, and the government was running. And I think long back it was all right. But in the recent years, perhaps 2-3 decades, the HRNC department has not been functioning properly. In the circumstances, there is a Hindu uprising by the way the government, successive governments, I'm not about any particular government, successive governments. In fact, I filed the case even when the ADMK was in power. In September, I withdrew the case because I thought I could give better particulars. And now I have filed that. Therefore, it is not against any particular government. It is generally against the government because it cannot run temples. Temples alone.
Okay. What is the current situation of the case, sir? How it has traveled till this date, sir?
It has been, notice has been ordered to the government. Then they have to file counter. Then it will be taken up. It is posted on 5/10. Therefore, it will be called on that date. We will have to see how it develops.
One important question comes here. Why only Hindu religious has been made a board? Why can't a Christian and Muslim temples, I would say the church or the mosque, have not come into any kind of such board, sir?
Secondly, it is not our intention to have either Muslims or Christians controlled by the government. Not necessary. They cannot do that. Under the constitution, no religious institutions can be controlled by the government. Not at all. They can only put some fetters, can say you account for this, you account for that. There can be some regulations. There cannot be takeover. They cannot enact an act for either the Christians or the Muslims also, or for other religions. Therefore, only for the Hindus it has been done. Therefore, I say it is discriminatory.
Okay. So, if you win, we wish you have to win the case. That's our wish. But what would be the outcome of the win, sir? This win, how important would be for the Hindu society?
No, it is only a constitutional guarantee that is going to be acted upon. We will be relieved. Certainly, the temples will be relieved because normally government administration nobody likes. There are so many hurdles. There are so many difficulties. There is no freedom. There is no freedom of religion. No, as the state government, any state government propagated into religion, it cannot propagate. But what the section says is that every person is free to practice his religion. Now, when we are not able to practice or propagate, what can we propagate in a temple governed by the government? And the government cannot propagate a religion. That is against the constitution, against the very section and section 25. Therefore, there will be no propagation, there will be no practice, and no government has added a single idol to a temple. Single idol to a temple. Nothing has been added. Whatever is being received is being spent. There has been no development, no institution. There has been no schools, no education institutions, or even schools for teaching Agamas or Vedas. Nothing has been done. How do the next generation of priests come? If it's a propagation, if the Hindus are propagating, now we see the Christians and the Muslims, they have their own institutions, they teach them, they get successive persons to either preach the religion and teach them what Jesus says or Allah says. But what does the government do? How is it? How can the Hindus do it? Whatever is done by only the private persons. private institutions, private mutts and private temples. The government doesn't do anything. The government cannot do anything.
But now government has put a law that all caste people can become a priest. So what do you think? Do you think it's not related with this?
No, that is different from my subject, but there is the law permits. The constitution says you cannot make any difference between a caste or creed. That is there in Article 15 itself. Therefore, that cannot be said. But there may be some restrictions regarding who is to do in what temples, agamas and other things. That may be different, but that is not the core of my.
One thing which I am clear, this case is for whole Hindu dharma and Hindu temples, which has been ruined by the state governments, which have been continuously ruling us for a long time. And this case would help us to remove the temples from the government, and it would be handed over to private. But one question comes: in Tamil Nadu, there are 50,000 temples totally, with a count, and 5,000 temples which are known as the big temples. Other 45,000 where these temples are very small. If there is no functional body like government, can these temples be managed by the public?
Why not? Why not? Now, you are how does the government run it? There's a commissioner, there's a minister, there's a commissioner, there are joint commissioners, there are assistant commissioners, there are executive officers, and other staff. So it is not in one place. They have offices in several districts and several places. They are managing it. Likewise, now you take up industries, you take up big industries. Are they run from one place? They are run from different places. One individual owns hundreds of industries. Now in this digital world, you can manage anything over a cell phone. When that is being done, what would be the difficulty? You see there are so many private mutts, private temples, wonderfully run by them. Do you have any complaints? Now, those temples which are willing, suppose those temples which are willing, they can be handed over. The nearer temples, they will take care. Now, suppose then a government is disinvesting from government bodies, even from the LIC, which is giving them a great profit, even because of the maladministration or the dissatisfaction that the government has towards the staff, government staff, their attitude. So when industries go bankrupt, they are auctioned. Air India is being auctioned. Now there are people to take it up. Likewise, here there are. I will just give an example of Mantralaya. Mantralaya has about 110 temples under its control. It is being run properly in a good manner. There are Shankara mutts and Vaishnava mutts, and even now Ram temple has been given to a trust, not to the government. The trust is perhaps going to be the biggest temple in the country, and the Supreme Court did not give it to the government, saying it's a large institution that is going to come up, therefore only the government can do it. Why not? In fact, most of the government departments are failing. Only some central government departments are functioning well, some corporations. More than that, it is the private industries that are adding to the economy, that are flourishing, like the Ambanis and Tatas, Birlas, Adanis. They are lifting the economy of the country, not the governments.
Sir, one final question. The biggest question comes, see, if you look at Tiruchi, right? You have one big Srirangam, you have one big Malakotai, and all big temples. But what would be the cost for the small temples? So if this act is enabled, how small temples would be managed? See, the Srirangam, you're going to get a crores and crores of money from Srirangam temple. That temple can be managed. That is not going to be a problem. In Srirangam itself, manage other 5 Divya Desams around that. There are 6 Divya Desams in Tiruchi, and it manages. And there are other small temples. But how the small temples is going to evolve? See, the basic thing which everyone says, that the biggest question is development of small temples. So how focused the small temple development should be there, sir, in your point of view?
There are small and big temples managed by private individuals. That is one thing. Secondly, these small temples can be seeded with other larger temples say one Vaishnava temple to be seated with another Vaishnava temple, one Saiva temple to be seated with another Saiva temple, and the income can be adjusted. There is absolutely nothing wrong there, and people will come forward to help them. Now that the government is there, now I will just give you an example. Have you heard of any person donating any property to the government temples now over the past 5-6 decades? How did all the properties for the temples come? They were great donors, philanthropists. Now, why is it not anybody giving property to the temples? They don't have the confidence. If I want to go to a temple, I want to spend something, I do some archana, I do some abhishekam, I pay something as donation for the temple, I come back. That is what everybody does. Not a single person is granting property to the temples. That is because of the lack of confidence. And you take the example of Tirupati. I think Tirupati is managing several other temples because of his wealth. It wants to develop other temples also. That is how we do. Now churches and mosques are being managed from one place. The Pope is at one place. The CSI, the ALC are all big churches. Then the Muslims have their own way of managing things. There is one imam at one place. He is managing over the entire state of Tamil Nadu. One church is managing the entire state of Tamil Nadu. TELC, ALC. They are managing. Can't Hindus do that? And if you can run an industry, we can. And after all, it's all a matter of the people contributing. They will certainly do it. People come to temples only because of the faith that they have. When that is the case, they will not let down the temples. Now, what was the purpose of appointing Dharmakartas? That was because they would guide the temples. Now, normally there would be people from that village. They would have faith in that God. They would do something for the sake of the God. They manage the temples. And what is required in a temple? Just management of funds. That one person can do. Other things, daily routine, even the Purohit takes care of it. And there are other staff. Daily routines, there is no need for any big industrialist to come and manage it. Anybody can manage. And that is what is also happening. Even in cases of consecrations, the HRNC board doesn't pay any money. Very rarely does it pay any money. All contributions are collected by a renovation committee. Then they want a renovation committee to collect money. They have a renovation committee. Otherwise, thereafter, nobody is required. Only EO will do. Assistant Commissioner will do. So for collecting money, these people come. And Purohits collect money. They collect money and account. They ask each and every worshipper to contribute towards the funds. And they collect also. That's not going to be. And how are private temples managing? It is not as if all the private temples have money. It is the donors that are giving. And I don't find any temple being closed. Any private temple being closed. And they are adding to them. They are adding idols. They are adding so many things. But in the HRNC board, there is no improvement at all.
So, in simple ways, I could understand one thing, sir. HRNC board is only collecting, not giving to the temple.
Yes, it is asked for contribution. God is earning money. We pay only to God. That money is being spent by government servants, on government servants, by and on government servants. How can you collect money from God and spend it on others? Even if you can't give it. Now 12% contribution is being asked and audit fees is being asked. And I will tell you one more thing. Section 92 relates to contribution. It is from this contribution money that the temples are being mostly run. And this section has been struck down by the Supreme Court by a 7-bench judgment as early as 1954 Supreme Court 282 by a 7-judge bench known as the Shirur Mutt case. Then the old act was in force. When the new act came, the 51 Act came, Supreme Court allowed amendment. Then it was section 76(1). The Supreme Court said it is akin to taxation. The asking for contribution is akin to taxation. Therefore, we strike down the section that has been struck down. A section that has been struck down in 1954 has reappeared as section 92 in 1959. 5 years later, in a new enactment, has appeared. And more than that, The contribution previously asked was only 5%. That was struck down. Now it is 12%. And if contribution is not there, no temple can be run by the government.
Excellent, sir. I generally I make a finish. This is the best finish or best end to the video. Not for the case, I would say this case should win. That's where every Hindu's right would be earned. Thank you so much for appearing in the show, sir. We need your blessings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, thank you, sir.